Большое спасибо.
It's a beautiful day in Altai, seeing the sun come out, even if it's just peeking at us. And it's very, very good to be here with all of you. What I want to talk to you about is why ecology is important to me in a very, very personal kind of way. My brothers and sisters, we need to constrain our human economic activity. We need to change what we do in fairly dramatic and radical ways. We need to move beyond this concept of sustainability. We need to move to a place where we as human beings leave room for other species, not just to survive, but to flourish. We need to move beyond seeing nature just for its usefulness to us. We need ecology, not just because it's useful, and it is tremendously useful to human beings. But we need to move beyond that, to embrace ecology because it is right. It is simply wrong for one species, human beings, because of our modes of production, our modes of delivery, render this planet incapable of supporting life for so many other species. That is wrong. And we need ultimately to move beyond voluntary actions. The crisis, the environmental crises that we face, the climate change, the toxic pollution, the loss of critical habitat for so many species, these issues can't be addressed with voluntary actions alone. We need collective decisions at a global level. Akai yesterday mentioned about dialogue with the rest of nature. And dialogue with the rest of nature is very, very important. We need to engage in a dialogue with the grizzly bear, with the polar bear, with the wolf, with the eagle, with the coyote, okay? Back home in the southwestern parts of the United States, where I spent a lot of time taking my children when they were growing up, lived the Apache and the Hopi and the Navajo. And all of these tribal peoples believe in a time when human beings really did engage in dialogue with other species, with the animals. And among the Pueblo, in the spring and summer of each year, they have the Katsina dances. And the Katsina dances are an attempt to touch upon that dialogue of old. Because it's only when we're in dialogue with all these elements of nature that we can really, really appreciate intrinsic value, where we can really have the relationships that are based on reciprocity that so many of us have talked about already. On March the 17th, my first grandson was born. And on April the 24th, my second grandson was born. And the second one came 5 weeks early. And for much of the next month, I sat with my grandson all through the night because we wanted to have people there since he was premature, family members, you know. And my other daughter, her birth was on time, but she had to have a C-section. And part of that experience, you know, it makes you aware of the marvels of modern medical technology. It really, really does. And you deeply appreciate it. And modern technology does go hand in hand with economic growth. We need some economic growth. But at the same time, being a grandfather now, for the very first time, it makes me all the more aware of what it is I want to pass on to my grandchildren. I want to pass on to my grandchildren a world that is teeming with the richness of biodiversity. I want to pass on to my grandchildren a world that there is room for the polar bear. There is room for the grizzly. There is room for the wolf and the eagle and the hawk. See, that's the problem with sustainability as a concept. On one level, it just means continuing to do what we've done in the past indefinitely into the future. That might not leave room for other species. That's why we have to commit ourselves to making room for other species. And one of the ways we do that is by providing critical habitat to all these species. And one technique is well-preserved land areas. In the United States, we call that type of protection wilderness. A little lower level of protection is national parks. But we also need parks in urban areas. We also need to protect even the land where we are extracting minerals, to do it in a way that is as gentle as possible. Among American Indians, it's very, very common, to talk in terms of disturbing the Earth Mother as little as possible. The Earth and nature can be used, but human use is not why it exists. You see? It's a key distinction. We can use nature, but nature doesn't exist solely for our use. It has its own reason for being. It exists. We need to respect the existence of the rest of nature. Okay? So